Living nomadically has always been extremely attractive to me. I love living on the road. In fact, I feel just as much at home on the road as I do in the Green Mountain State. I was born and raised there. I've lived there my whole life, but I've also lived on the road off and on my whole life. Being raised by two artists who would often travel to go to art shows, also being homeschooled, we had a chance to travel a lot, so we were always on the road in the RV. It got me used to this idea of what is home, really, when we think about it. Home doesn't have to be a static place. It can be a much smaller place than culture likes to tell us should be a home. You know, we don't have to live in a big space filled with things we don't necessarily need, or have multiple vehicles or a big garage. All those things can be nice if it suits you, but I think more than ever people are beginning to realize, like, hey, that particular image of success might not serve me, it might not suit me, it may not speak to my soul. And for me, living nomadically always spoke to my heart in ways that nothing else ever could. We lived in a 15-foot camper for a period of 3 months right after arriving back from backpacking in Europe for a month, close to a month. And I was already in this mindset from backpacking it was like coming out of a stupor, realizing how little I needed in my day-to-day life. I didn't need all this stuff. I actually needed very few things on a daily basis to feel happy and healthy. I needed my backpack on my back. And it was interesting because when you overpacked, you were literally having to carry that weight. It made me start thinking about all these things we hold on to in life that we don't necessarily need to be holding on to. How much added weight are we carrying around that we don't need to be carrying? Both metaphorically, spiritually, physically, however you want to look at that. Do you have any baggage that you're carrying that you could let go of? And for me, I had so many physical things that I've let go of, a huge amount in fact. And for some people, the change is drastic. For others, it's small changes. But it can make such a big difference either way when you start living lighter, living more mobile, living in a way that feels freer. Now, I'm certainly not prescribing a one-size-fits-all recipe to life here. I simply want to share my unconventional journey. I had a very unconventional upbringing, and I feel like it's turned me into a very funky, unconventional adult, and I love it. It's cool to have a different path. It's cool to see that we don't have to go down this rat race road prescribed to us by so much of Western modernized culture, the hustle culture of the internet. We don't have to follow that as a guide. We can look within and we can find a better guide. So we started living out of a 15-foot camper for months, and it was a life-changing experience. It caused me to let go of so many things, and it caused me to crave this lifestyle of being able to have freedom of movement. So when we decided this year to head out on the road once again, to live nomadically, to ease back into that lifestyle, it was exciting. And my top priority was to slim down even more on the possessions that I was bringing, the things that the layout of the camper, what I had in there, and how we could make it an even more efficient, life-giving space to live in, more vitalizing, more space, more room. So when we started out with the camper, it's a little Jayco J-Flight, very small. We wanted to revamp it. It was a camper that my parents had had for a long time, and they were like, hey, you know, if you want to try to do something with this camper, feel free. And when I stepped in there, I saw so much potential. So let me show you guys a little bit of our space, give you a little tour of our sweet little cocoon. So let's head inside. We usually take our shoes off outside. So inside, this place looks so unrecognizable from what it was when we first started the revamp of this camper. We painted all the cabinetry white and the walls white. This color I think is called Swiss Coffee, which we wanted something just really bright and airy because in a small space it can feel even smaller when it's a dark color. So we went with something really bright for the entire space. Painted all the cabinets in here white. And then for the flooring there was a really kind of dark brown tile in here. We went with this really beautiful grayish white laminate peel and stick floor, which is really lightweight. So when you're renovating a camper or an RV or a van, something that you don't necessarily want to put unnecessary weight into with fixtures like flooring or cabinetry or something like that, laminate can be an awesome option because this just looks great. It looks like wood floor, but it's laminate. So we love the way this tied into the space. We matched the curtains to the floor a little bit to tie in that light gray airy color. We actually got these linen curtains from a seamstress on Etsy who makes them all herself. So that was really important to me, to not just be buying accent pieces or any pieces for this space from big box stores or stores where I had no idea if these items were being ethically made, were the products being sustainably sourced. I didn't want to just buy things not knowing where they were coming from. That's a huge pet peeve of mine, is I need to ask. I need to know who's making it, where it's coming from. So before we bought anything for this space, we were making sure we were buying locally or buying from a small business. So Etsy was instrumental in helping us find small businesses and artists to buy a lot of the accents you're going to see in this space. So these curtains were handmade. I love the tassels on these because they just really add to the boho look to have these little tassels. And the other great thing about tassel curtains in a camper or van space is if you're not sure if they're going to hang too long, you can adjust them so easily. So for these windows, we knew, okay, this is already going to be a little long, even though we do like how it has a little bit of a flood curtain effect, the way it hangs. Like, that is very elegant, but we wanted to make sure that we could adjust it if we needed to. So this is loose enough to pull back and forth, but we also have them pretty tight with just a little bit of wiggle room, so that way they're not hanging too low. But if we ever decided to renovate a different space or a different camper or van or something, we could actually take those curtains and adjust them to whatever adjustment we needed for the new space as well. So they function for multiple spaces, which is awesome. So over here in the kitchen space, this kitchen space looks completely different from what it was originally. We redid the countertop with a peel and stick marble countertop. So it looks really pretty. It has that little bit of marble texture to it, and it just really brightens the space. We added a backsplash, which was also a lightweight peel and stick backsplash, so it adds virtually almost no weight whatsoever, and it looks really pretty. It brightens it up a lot. There was originally no backsplash at all. There was just brown wallpaper, so we went right over that with paint and then the peel and stick backsplash. We created this adorable little pantry shelf ourselves using upcycled wood. This was actually from a desk that my father built way back when. We had some of the wood left over, and he's like, Harry, do you want to use some of this wood for an upcycled shelf? And I was super stoked because this edge is just awesome. I love the way this looks, the different tones. You have this awesome, like, kind of weathered look here, lots of character. I macrame'd these little hangers to go on either end, tied knots here, so you have these kind of funky little tassels at the bottom. and then we hung it using 2 cup hooks, and this became just this really adorable kind of apothecary space to store our teas. We really like herbal teas. So I have like a tea that's for lung health, some coffee, holy basil. These are jasmine pearls, chaga chai, and some loose chamomile tea. All teas I use on the regular, and of course my French press, and they all fit really beautifully right here. And then underneath, continuing with the same theme, we have a bowl for crushing herbs, some coffee, my beloved espresso machine, and we store fresh fruit here as well. Oh, and I have my sage and lavender. So for smudging and for other things, I love to have dried lavender. I actually grew this sage myself and dried it before the frost got it, before we left. So it's nice to have a little piece of my home herb garden hanging up right here, and it just looks awesome. And we put the same type of flooring right onto the fridge. So we use the same gray laminate peel and stick flooring for the fridge. For storage, I mentioned we're really health foodies, so we have quite a bit to store. We use this as clothing storage, and then this is pantry. So the Vitamix, extra tea, pots and pans, salad spinner, all the health food gear lives here. This is where we store all our soap and things that we need on a daily basis, utility related things. This also acts as a pantry. And this is our storage for our clothes. This is where it really pays to have a minimalist capsule wardrobe, because this is a pretty small closet and we've both managed to fit most of our clothing right here. So it's really amazing because we've utilized the space so well, and we actually have room left over because we don't have much. So traveling light, it really pays off because you end up with a much more roomy space to live in. You're not feeling crushed. A lot of times people who talk to me about how can you live in such a small, tight, cramped space, I tell them, well, it's not cramped because we really don't have much in there. We try to utilize this space as best we can, so we have a space that feels light and airy and like we can move around freely. For storage, we ended up going with baskets. We like to bring baskets with us instead of plastic totes. We try to avoid using plastic, so using wicker baskets can be an awesome way to not only cut back on buying additional plastic containers to put things in, but it can look so cozy and earthy. If you're going for more of a grounded, gentle vibration in your space, sustainable wicker and rattan, bamboo, these are all great options for storage, and we wanted to invite as many of those elements as possible into this space because it really just achieved that earthy vibration we were looking for. These storage baskets, we went with these really pretty white storage baskets for underneath the bed, which slide out. We can store things like our supplements, which we use on a daily basis. We wanted these to be really readily accessible. So they're in these really nice little baskets that can just slide in and out. It looks really nice and ties in with the rest of the space. And that's just for extra kitchen things. So this is kind of a little sacred space that I set up to store my sage and incense, my frankincense, crystals, essential oils, and essential oil diffuser, and just a few art prints. These are actually, this one here is by a local Vermont artist. I'll link her below in the description of this video. I was really thrilled to be able to find some amazing art to invite into this space from local Vermont artists. Just got me really stoked. This one also is by the same artist, and it's just so magical. This bunting hanging in a forest. This frame is handmade in Vermont by local woodworkers. So it was fun to be able to tie into this space things by local Vermont artists, including this one, which is by me. I did the cute little sun. I did this little moon and stars over here. So I wanted to really make this space our own by tying things in that are from Vermont, from the Green Mountain State, or handmade by me. So after living out of it on that hiking trip, we then decided to make a few more edits by removing the bunk from the bunk bed situation, which is an awesome situation if you have a family or you're sleeping extra people. We needed more space to store gear and have an extra sitting area. So we decided to take that bunk out completely and make a really sweet little bohemian book nook. So for this, we removed the top bunk. Already looks so much bigger. Stoked about this new space. It feels already like twice as big in here because of this being opened up. We were mainly just using it as storage space, and now this is going to be this little seating area. Now what I'm working on is finding the materials to finish the space. I want to do an accent wall on this wall here with wallpaper. I want to find a really nice cushion for this bench seat, and we're going to put a shelf at the back. So this space for sure had one of the biggest transformations. So we ended up taking the top bunk out altogether, leaving some of the framework and creating this amazing hand-stained upcycled shelf for books, pictures, art, plants. This is where all our little plant friends hang out. We added a cool mushroom tapestry, some pillows. This pillow is from a small business on Etsy. This cushion is also from a seamstress on Etsy. I am so thrilled with how this space turned out. And we ended up making a shelf at the back of the bunk too, at the back of the little nook that can hold my hand pan as well. So I was really excited about that. I wasn't expecting it to be the exact right size, but when I slid it in there, I'm like, wow, this is the perfect little nook for my hand pan. That's so exciting. And it's just this really cute little area to hang out and have a cup of tea, read a book. We have a back shelf in here, which is made from the same upcycled wood as the macrame shelf for the teas. It has the same really cool edge and just adds to the funky character of this space, having the mixed woods. We also have a few baskets up here, so I can store extra things. I have a pot still waiting for plants, some art that I created. I store some of my essential oils here and some office things in this basket. This is also where I keep my meditation pillow, my laptop underneath, and a few extra clothes. Underneath here we have a small table that I could easily pull out from underneath this basket. And this is bamboo. It pops open to become either a floor table if I'm sitting outside, or it can become my desk right here. So this is perfect for working on my laptop. Right here I have a nice little space to be able to do that if I want to work on my computer, or if I'm editing or writing. I have this little space to kind of just slide my desk out and work right here. And then we have this really amazing wallpaper that we also found from an artist on Etsy. I have my battery charging here, but you can see it has a really cool sun magic totem theme, which we absolutely loved. The sun and moon design was just really spoke to my heart, and I worked with an amazing artist on Etsy to design and customize this wallpaper. Buying from a small business was again amazing with something like wallpaper, which you think like, I'm not gonna be able to find that from a small business. I'll have to go to some like large box store to be able to find that, or something like that. But really you can find so many things from small artists and small businesses on Etsy and other websites if you're buying directly from the artist or small business owner. So I was really happy that we were able to do this. It was interesting to install. It was pretty fun, but also a little stressful because we had to cut around this window. So it was a fun adventure to do that. Part one. It's looking amazing so far. We just cut everything and installed the first panel, doing 4 panels. finished product. Looks awesome, and we just put the shelves in, so this is exactly how it's going to look, minus the cushion, which is going to look beautiful with these gold elements in the wallpaper. I absolutely love it. And I think it just tied into the space really well. We were able to pick the color, and we decided to go with this really beautiful summer solstice vibe and have the gold in the wallpaper and the gold in this cushion, which is super soft, and like I could fall asleep on this cushion. It is so comfy. I'm going to link every single Etsy shop that we bought from for this camper below, so you can go check out their shops for yourself, whether you're designing a room in your house or renovating something like a camper or a van. You're going to love some of these amazing shops and artists that we were so happy to be able to work with. Another adjustment we made to save a lot of space was to remove the door and add this really cute bohemian curtain instead. So the door swung out pretty far. I mean, you had the door swinging out to about here. So the biggest problem was when we were cooking in the kitchen, if someone was coming out of the bathroom, you would have to kind of just step way over here because the door would just kind of smack right into you. So and it would also make this cabinet unusable. It would be kind of hard to use this because you had the door right here, the doorknob, stuff like that. So we just removed that and added this curtain to this bathroom, which is just kind of a simple water closet with a shower. We added a really cute little woven basket to kind of brighten up the space, continued with the flooring and paint right into the bathroom, and added a little throw rug to match. After doing this initial renewal of the camper, we traveled for a month-long hiking trip in it, and we kind of took notes and took stock on what else we would like to renew in the space as we traveled, as we used it, because that's the best way to find out what works and what doesn't, is to actually live out of the space, actually experiment with everything and see what's serving you, what could be a little bit more functional, where do we need more space, where do we have too much space. Living out of it is the best way to find out all those little quirks and be able to iron everything out. What we tried to achieve in this space was to make it as functional as possible. And when you are dealing with something really small like a 15-foot camper, the best way to figure out what you need is to live out of the space. We lived out of this camper for a while before even renovating it, so we could figure out what works, what doesn't, where do we need more storage, where is space being wasted that we can convert into something else. So my recommendation, if you are thinking about transforming your own tiny space, is to just spend time in the space, see what works for you and what you would like to do, because that's really the best way to figure it out, is to just spend time in that space, getting ideas and brainstorming what you would like to do, how you would like to transform it into a minimal, functional place to live. Living out of a small space can be truly amazing because you learn so much about what you actually need, and then that can carry over into your daily life. If you live in a stationary home, if you're living in one place, it can help you to tailor even your life at home when you realize, wow, I don't necessarily need all these things I've been hanging on to. I can re-examine and take stock and make sure that I'm living based on my own principles, things that are meaningful to me and not just based off of what society tells me I should or shouldn't own. So even if you're not converting over to living out of a 15-foot space or a camper or a van or living nomadically, you can take a look at your space. Take a look at just one room in your home and pretend that is your only living space. Ask yourself, what is in this space that I love? And what is in this space that feels like a little too much excess? What can I let go of in this space? If I were to just live out of this one room, what would make my life feel more vibrant? What would make my life feel more expansive? And what are some of the things that are making me actually feel more bogged down? Living on the road can force us to ask these questions, but we can also choose to ask ourselves in our own space, no matter where we are, what is serving me and what is no longer serving me? What things can I let go of, and what things do I want to actually actively invite into my life to make every single day more expansive and vibrant? So I hope you enjoyed this little tour of our sweet little cocoon that we are living out of for the foreseeable future, and the renovations we did to it. We really tried to find amazing small businesses and artists that we could recommend to you guys, so that if you're doing something similar, you can visit those shops as well. Also, ideas with upcycling. That's something that is so near and dear to my heart, because it's amazing what you can do with things you already have. So we upcycled so many things for this space. I hope it can be a springboard of inspiration for you. If you've ever created a space that is mobile, a van, a camper, an RV, or if you've just created an amazing space at home and made it more functional for yourself, comment below and tell me about it. I would absolutely love to hear about your own unique journey. If you enjoyed this little tour, it always means a lot when you give it a thumbs up and click subscribe so you don't miss the next video. I so appreciate you being here, my friend. I wish you so much joy in your journey. Namaste.